Hello, welcome to Economy of Trust show. My today's guest is going to talk about what's most needed now for the country. It is a fundamental goods that are going to rebuild Ukraine. Terry had 30 years of experience in a precast concrete, and his company is interested and willing to set up a production factory in Ukraine. Enjoy the interview, it's important, but more importantly, please support our show, share it, and we'll see you next time. Have a great day. Terry, welcome to Economy of Trust show, and great to see you.
Well, great to be here with you.
Thank you very much, Terry. It's obviously a majority of our conversation will be on Ukraine. But yes, before we go, I want to make sure that everybody who listens to us knows who you are and what do you do. Please speak about yourself, a little bit of your background, and obviously what do you do now with the company we're going to be about to discuss.
Great. Thank you, Henry, for having me on. You're Terry Dittrich. I'm based in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I'm the managing director of the MIGroup, which is a U.S., Croatian, and now more recently setting up an office in Ukraine, construction, engineering, and precast concrete supply company. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm bringing myself and a team bringing over 50 years of precast concrete construction experience worldwide. And our mission here today, obviously, is discussing Ukraine and how we can assist in the reconstruction of high quality precast reinforced concrete buildings for safety and for the reconstruction effort that's going to be coming up.
Great, thank you, Terry. So this is obviously critical because we know it's going to be a lot of construction happening. And I wanted to also for you to address why the precast concrete is important for Ukraine now versus what they do now for people who are not experts in the industry.
Sure. I mean, Kiev and Ukraine have fantastic builders over there. These are great construction companies that we've worked with in the past. The real element of advantage here is the speed. Speed of construction obviously is going to be critical when the reconstruction effort starts, obviously, especially in the residential construction area. You're going to need speed, you're going to need high quality, and you're going to need capacity, very, very high volumes of capacity to be able to service the market and the growth that's going to take place. So the current situation in Ukraine is primarily that construction companies use a cast in situ or a cast in place approach to their buildings, pouring concrete, using tower cranes. It's a good system. In some cases, they're quite rapid and efficient with it. But as far as, especially for residential and commercial construction, the use of precast elements that are made off-site in quality controlled conditions at an off-site factory, transported to that site, and then quickly and rapidly, efficiently erected to finish the building typically reduces construction times at least 40 to 50%, especially in the winter times, etc.
Terry, I apologize. 40 to 50% plus the cost, right? I understand there's a cost savings as well. Please speak to that.
Well, sure. You've got the cost savings in materials themselves, but then you've got the cost savings in overall construction and manpower. It's known worldwide that precast is a very, very efficient way to build, and it's also an extremely efficient way as far as the overall construction cost due to the time savings primarily.
Excellent. And now let's quickly get to the point where everybody's now discussing. Obviously, we're talking about, as you know, we're looking to build green smart cities. Yep. So let's talk about how environmentally clean the precast facilities are these days versus what Ukraine has today.
Right. Certainly the use of polystyrene and more advanced materials in our insulation process. Also using mixed designs for the concrete when it's poured at the factory site for high quality control reduces carbon footprint and actually increases energy efficiency for the panels and those types of building elements. So certainly that compared to pouring something on site is a huge advantage and complies with all of the international green efforts and decarbonization efforts. It's really a good product for that. Also the the reduction in steel and reinforcement in a lot of the precast products due to advancements in designs that have taken place over the last 10 or 20 years has allowed for less steel and basically reducing the carbon footprint on all the buildings that we're building. So it's a big advantage, and LEED certification and those types of programs have been going on for many years now. So precast has obviously proven to be extremely efficient.
It has. So now let's talk about the Rebuilding Ukraine Agency. We were both part of that very new organization, which has a lot of potential for Ukraine, which we work very hard on. You also are head of the construction committee at that agency. So speak about the mission of the agency itself, as well as the construction committee in particular.
Sure, yeah. So I'm honored to be a co-chair of the new construction committee for RUA. We're excited about it. We're communicating with our engineers and specialists on the ground as we speak in Ukraine. So we're getting a real good feel for what kinds of challenges and issues. Certainly the biggest one being capacity. So the construction material subcommittee or committee that we're working on has a whole variety of building material and equipment suppliers that we've spoken to already that are starting to line up, obviously, to come in as a group to Ukraine and offer all the different services that are needed. So the coordination, qualification of those companies, logistics that we'll need. Basically, our mission is to form, just like we're talking about in several of the industrial parks that are being proposed, our mission is to have a single source location for all building materials for that local environment, so we can maximize the efficiency of those industrial parks, reduce the transportation costs, and make them very, very efficient with regard to serving the local environment. Also being able to prepare for quality control and engineering and design services that are local to basically create a turnkey or one-stop shop circumstance where our committees can serve.
So we're talking about companies, not just American, but companies from around the world, correct?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I've worked with companies just myself in my 30 years in precast. I've worked with companies worldwide, European, American. So we want to get the best, the brightest, the most efficient, most cost-effective as part of our team.
Excellent. And now let's talk more specifically. Let's get even further down. You and I are already discussing a potential project that can be in the city, surrounded by other smaller cities that will be absolutely devastated by the war and atrocities that are happening there. We're talking about Bucha. Obviously became world famous for wrong reasons. So we are discussing creating, so to speak, a hybrid where we have a construction hub, logistics hub, and let's call it a community center as well. So speak about that specific location where we can bring 10 to 12 companies that build materials and make this a major hub for not only the direct region, but also the country.
I think it's an excellent concept, because the fact of the matter is you need all of those elements to be successful. Just looking at the one aspect of having a community center, these plants need qualified labor. These are good jobs that provide good skill development over time. And you need that consistency with those types of companies that are coming in, these supply companies, for the capacity. So just that aspect alone, where you can have a central hub where you have consistent workers and their families there, creates jobs, really good opportunity there. And then obviously with raw materials, transportation, logistics, if you have those companies involved with the entire process, from raw material to production to loading, transportation, installation, design, engineering, if that's all in one location, there's great communication, great synergy that takes place between all of those different factors. That's a recipe for success.
Right. So one logistic company can service 10 different factories to submit.
Absolutely.
There's a cost efficiencies, time efficiencies, and environmental efficiencies as well. Great. So you mentioned in your answer, it's very easy to do an interview with you because your answers are leading into the next question.
Yeah, we understand.
Right. Talk about the labor. So before we talk about the labor, let's talk about what today became Ukraine's biggest asset, and it's basically its image of the country. So that image has to be protected, from my point of view, at any cost. And that obviously is based on trust. From your point of view, I'd like you to describe two type of first customer in Ukraine that you want? What type of customer do you want in Ukraine? And the second, what type of employer you want in Ukraine?
Yeah, so as far as customer is concerned, we've already
employee.
Yeah, okay, no problem. So as far as customers that we've been speaking with, we're very interested in partnering up and meeting with larger construction groups, development groups that are already building. I mean, our feeling is that they know the local environment. We're not trying to come in and reinvent the wheel. They understand their requirements. They understand local standards, local building practices. They work with local regulatory organizations, et cetera. So we very much like to work with those large general contractors and development groups who are planning to continue the construction they had going on pre-war. And then obviously they'll be an integral part with the government in being able to build and reconstruct housing, commercial, industrial, these types of hospitals, critical buildings. They know their market. So we want to partner with them. They would be likely infusing a portion, maybe very significant portion of ready mix and precast into that overall product mix. But basically, they're the guys on the ground who typically have the contracts. They know the subcontractors. They understand how to get the permitting done, et cetera. So those larger companies are the ones we'd really like to work with. And obviously, we like to get local because the local companies really know what they're doing. As far as employees are concerned, look, these are semi-skilled jobs. Some of them, in fact, are quite skilled jobs with the engineering, design, equipment operations, planning, logistics. They're really good long-term jobs. We employ a lot of these folks in the United States and in Europe in these factories. Obviously, there's expertise that's developed, there's training that's needed. And the bottom line is if we have someone who's dedicated to that company and has a good family life in relation to it, because they can go to work every day knowing that their families have access to community center and also training and education. This is the type of family atmosphere we want to build because we want to retain workers. These workers, if they're good and they know what they're doing, it's absolutely critical to the success of the overall operation. And we don't like turnover when we get into business like this. We want to have good quality people. So we're willing to invest in it.
Thank you very much. So, Terry, coming back to a couple last questions of the interview today. Thank you for your time. So, just describe in a couple words why you're passionate about Ukraine and what you think of the economic potential of the country. I mean,
well, first of all, it's a great country. The people are wonderful. There's a lot of Ukrainians actually who live in Wisconsin, where I live, Milwaukee, large Ukrainian population. We have a wonderful relationship with them. So, just on the business side, and especially in the precast concrete, precast has been used for decades in Central Europe, former Soviet Union. So it's a familiar product to these folks. They just basically need upgrade and they need capacity. So it really fits the model of what we try to do with rapid construction. The Ukrainians have a very high skill level at engineering and technical aspects, unlike other countries. So this is a very, very attractive aspect to us. Obviously, the rebuild and the reconstruction from American standpoint is, we go back to the Cold War as Americans, and we know that the Ukrainians were friends, and the Ukrainians ultimately, are our ally in that region. So it's something that we feel is a moral, ethical commitment that we need to make as Americans here, and our European friends and the guys at MIGroup in Croatia and also in Ukraine are also very dedicated to this mission. We just see it as a very workable solution if we can go in and partner up with engineering companies and builders and government officials who are aggressive. I think we can be as aggressive as they want to be, and we can really achieve some success and get people back into normal lives in the Ukraine, right? A good quality housing that they're living in, and good schools and hospitals and these types of things. I mean, it's a very civilized, advanced country that needs to live in the way that it's used to living.
as we see
right?
now, very courageous.
Yeah, I've been to places like Uzbekistan and Tajikistan and Asia and Middle East, and there are different circumstances in those countries. The Ukrainians are industrious, they're smart, they have a great country. It's a very large population, very extensive, transportation logistics network. There's no reason why they can't get right back on their feet once this is all over, and we want to help them do it.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I think obviously Ukraine needs expertise like yours, especially now where we can build from bottom up and build it correctly, build it advanced with the latest technologies, with the latest sustainability factors that will make Ukraine an example to the world.
Absolutely.
So my last question, as you know, I mentioned this to you that we, with students of Ukraine, we started a program to help support small businesses of Ukraine by providing working capital to those businesses. So I want to, last question, I always finish with that question. How important do you think this type of program and how critical it is for Ukraine's future to support small business now?
It's extremely important. When you get down to the local level, those small businesses are the ones who create the jobs.
Correct.
They create the jobs, they invest in their local community, they're good citizens. We have the same thing here in the United States. Our small businesses create the majority of the employment that goes on. People think it's the very large companies. That's not true. It's the small businesses that are the entrepreneurs. They're the ones coming up with the innovative ideas. They're the ones taking the risk. So if you don't have that and you're just relying on very, very large companies, you have a big gap in that in your society. So we're big supporters of small business. Our idea as far as sourcing of local materials, local labor, these types of things, we would like to utilize everything locally as much as possible. We're not interested in importing labor and importing a lot of products that we don't need. I mean, bottom line is if we can help the local economies and the local communities, we love to do it. It builds a family atmosphere, and at the end of the day, those folks are loyal to us, and we invest in their future, which is great.
Terry, I can't thank you enough, and I thank you for to be so passionate about Ukraine. Obviously, we're going to be working very hard to get our project off the ground now, but thank you very much for this time and expertise.
Well, we extend our heartfelt wishes and prayers for the people of Ukraine. We really want to see this end and get moving to get back to normality. So God bless Ukraine, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you very much. And guys, please support us. Please press like, share the video. And thank you again, Terry.